योगेन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते। So taking ourselves to be this individual who has a date of birth and will have a date of death also at some time is because of self-ignorance. This perspective that I am this small limited individual facing a real huge world is the reason why every human being is very insecure with himself. And this, he doesn't know that he's insecure because of this reason. This insecurity is the seed because of which all the human problems are there in life. And this life, such a life is known as life of samsara in the Shastras. Samsara is perpetuated by 4 demons, 4 Rakshasas, They are called Dushta Chatushtaya. Dushta is the evil, Chatushtaya 4. 4 evils, it perpetuates samsara. And out of these 4, the first Rakshasa, the main demon, which is compared to Ravana in the Shastras, is Ahamkara. The first person I, the singular, the first person I singular, this individual, I, this is the Ahamkara. And this is the root cause of all the problems in life. In Dharma Shastra, Ahamkara means pride, arrogance. We say, no, ye ahamkari hai, isko ahankar hai. That it's not what Vedanta means. Vedanta says that ahamkara is the individuality. Taking oneself to be this individual is ahamkara in Vedanta. And once there is ahamkara, then the next demon arrives along with ahamkara, and that is mamkara. Mamkara means mine, my family, my children, my property, my house, mine. So this ahamkara I, the first Ravana, brings in the second demon, which is mamkara. And this mamkara leads to attachment. Attachment is compared to a rope in the scriptures, because it binds you down to this object of attachment. And the more I'm bound, the more I'm attached, the more freedom I'm losing in my life. In ahamkara, there is this sense of belonging. This person belongs to me and I belong to this person. Finished. Once you start a life like this, you're headed for trouble. Because this kind of perspective, now this person alone is the source of my happiness. My happiness gets limited to this because I'm attached to this person. So, and everything in this world is ephemeral. Soon it's going to either change or it's going to vanish from the scene. So this attachment is the root cause of all grief and sorrow in life. In fact, attachment and sorrow are 2 sides of the same coin. And more intense the attachment, the more intense is the sorrow which I am going to experience sometime later when that object of attachment goes away from my life. So the attachment is directly proportional to the intensity of the sorrow. The sorrow which I'll experience is directly proportional to the attachment I have to these objects. And this is thanks to ahamkara and then mamkara. These 2 demons then bring the next 2 demons, which are known as raga, dvesha. Raga is likes towards, with this perspective, I divide this world into 2. The things I like and the things I don't like. The things I like in the Shastras is said as I have shobhanatva adhyasa on it. I have imposed, adhyas means superimposition of shobhanatva. I like that object, So because it's so good, I like it. So there's Shobhanata Adhyasa on that object. And the things I dislike, there is Ashobhanata Adhyasa. I don't like that object. Then what happens with this likes and dislikes? Now I will run towards the objects I like. I will try and get hold of that object. I want to hold on to that object. I don't want to let that object go, and then I will try and control that object, because that object is a source of my happiness. I don't want it to let it go, And then we are running away from the things we dislike, or we are trying to avoid the things we dislike, because that is the source of my unhappiness, So what the human beings are doing, they don't know. If you just have to analyze to see why I'm chasing what I'm chasing and why I'm avoiding what I'm avoiding, it is only because of these likes and dislikes. Every human being is just spinning around. He's not able to relax and just be his own self. His own self is the Atma, They cannot be their own self because they don't know that they are the Atma, and they're spinning around in this life. Something or the other everybody is doing, and when you analyze, it is the likes and dislikes which are making us chase, And we are empowering these objects of likes and dislikes, because then they are going to control my life, And the stronger the likes and dislikes, the more I have empowered the world to trouble me, So the disliking objects are going to give me sorrow, and the objects I like temporarily. Everything, the sukh is only temporary here, So the intensity of likes and dislikes really makes a life miserable, We don't realize that, but these strong likes and dislikes only have to be diluted with puja and tapa and dana. We want these likes and dislikes in our mind to be diluted, And the story doesn't end with these dushta chatushtaya. After that, the next members arrive, and they are called Shad Ripus. Shad is 6, Ripus are enemies, These enemies, they capture the peace of our mind away because of this perspective that I am an individual. The whole chain reaction is going on, So Shad Ripus are the first one. They are Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mad, Moh, Matsarya. Kama is desires, When I take myself to be an individual, then there is a sense of limitation at every level. Externally, in my world, I find there are limitations. In myself, in my body, I find limitations. In my capacities, in my intellect, I find limitations as this individual. And then my whole life is directed towards removing these limitations. So there's a desire to remove these limitations in life, And a mind which is captured by desires is a restless mind, Actually, the word blissful mind only means that a mind which is free from all desires, you can just relax and be yourself. That doesn't mean that we won't act in this world, that if you're free from desires, then what, you keep sitting or what all the time? No, we have to act out of fulfillment. That is when we know that we are Atma, only then we can act out of fulfillment. We don't have to work for fulfillment, because my happiness is dependent on that object of desire just now, And if I don't get that object of desire, if there's something which comes in the way of my getting that object of desire, there's going to be krodha in me, That thing is becoming an obstruction in my fulfilling of that desire. And also, if the world around me doesn't live up to my expectations or doesn't perform as per my likes and dislikes, then also the mind is full of krodha. And a mind which has krodha is an agitated mind, Then the third is lobha, that is greed. A greedy person, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's actually trying to remove this inner sense of insecurity by objects outside. He's trying to hoard and get more and more things outside, because from inside he feels insecure as this limited person. So he thinks by accumulating all this, he is going to remove this insecurity. On the contrary, other problem is all these things which we have accumulated outside now have become a cause of insecurity, because now you manage all this. Also, that little joy and happiness which one gets in acquiring these things of the world, these tidbits of joys which we get. That person is chasing those little pleasures, You like something, you get it, and then you hold it and you hold on to it. So a lobhi has a restless mind, He is an unhappy mind, Then the fourth is mada. Mada means arrogance and pride. This person, taking himself to an individual, is now identified with his achievements in the world and also identified with the capacities of his body, mind, sense complex. Wow, I look so good and I'm such an intellectual person and I have got everything in this world. I did it. I am a self-made man. I started from scratch, It is my thing. He's going to go on showing off everywhere that it is his job. He did it. He's an arrogant person. Arrogant means ego. And where there is ego, there can be no God, because ego and God are poles apart. So such a person can live in his egoistic world, but he can never even get close to God, So a waste, he can not even think about spirituality. The next ripu is moha. Moha means delusion, So this deluded person is what is called mudaha in the Shastras, So this person has no clarity of thinking about anything else. He's a mudaha, he's got moha, he's deluded. Firstly, there's no clarity about what is dharma and adharma in life, He thinks dharma is adharma and adharma is adharma, so he doesn't know what he's doing in life. And also he doesn't have the clarity of the goal of human life, the purpose of human birth. There's no clarity. Thus such a person is a deluded person. He's got moha. And the last ripu is matsarya. Matsarya is jealousy. Taking myself to be this individual, you whatever you have in the world, if somebody has something which I value, or I do not have something, or I have it in less amount, if somebody else has that, then I'm going to be jealous of that person, And it's mind full of jealousy is the most unhappy mind, So these shad ripus, they take the peace of the mind away, and all these people, they're suffering because of all this. It is all self-inflicted suffering because they don't know what they are doing. There's just lack of wisdom, If we peep into any house which is unhappy, there are houses which are really unhappy. You put your foot inside and it's the vibes you get as an unhappy house. That unhappiness can be traced to one of these shaduripus. That is what is functioning here. So in life, this is a foolishly lived life, where they don't know what they are doing. This is what is called life of samsara, an unhappy life, because of this one perspective where the whole thing began, that I am this individual. This is the root cause. That is why this is Ravana, And the only solution to all this is what? It is Brahma Vidya, which only Vedanta gives. So this is where we have to focus. The entire Veda Sara, that is the essence of the entire Vedas, is Atma Agyanam Samsar Karanam, Atma Gyanam Moksha Karanam. If you don't know that you are the Atma, your life is going to be a life of samsara. This is what you will be doing in life, And if you know that you are the Atma, then you are a Mukta, you are a Jivan Mukta. You are mukt from this life of samsara. Samsara has two very powerful expressions, One is bhayam and the other shoka. Bhayam is fear and anxiety regarding the future. Because the future is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen in future, Anything we hold on to gives way. Either the thing will change or it is going to go away. It's so unstable. So this individual is very, very scared. There is bhayam regarding the future. All the time worrying about the future, And the other is shoka. Shoka is the grief regarding the past, regrets, guilts, hurts, those. Such a mind is not a free mind. It's captured either by bhayam or with shoka, So this such a life of samsara starts with that one perception that I am this individual, It is all, the root cause is this ahamkara, this individuality. And Brahma Vidya will knock it off in one go. It removes everything. The entire chain gets knocked off with one go. Just like, the darkness of a room. All to remove the darkness, what do we have to do? Just switch on the light. The darkness is gone, So this self-knowledge is that light of knowledge which removes the self-ignorance. That is why it's called enlightenment. You get enlightened, just by knowing your life has transformed 360 degrees. This one fact has to be known. So to help us know this, to help us give Brahma Vidya, Tattva Bodha is analyzing the human being, so that each and every individual knows his reality is Atma, which is Paramatma, and Paramatma doesn't need security. You don't even have to work for security of Paramatma, And once a person knows this fact, he is mukta, he is jivan mukta, he is mukt from a life of samsara. So Tattva Bodha is using 3 prakriyas to help us understand who we are. And we finished with the first prakriya, which is Sharira Traya prakriya. So in this Sharira Traya prakriya, we've studied that I, the Atma, am Vyatiriktaha from Sthul, Sukshma and Karan Shariras. All these 3 Shariras are Anatma. They are made up of matter. They are inert. Sthul Sharira is made up of gross matter. Sukshma Sharira is made up of subtle matter. And Karan Sharira is made up of causal matter. Now I hope you all understand, because these are the technical things. Once you've studied, now you know what I'm talking about. Panchikrit Panchamahabhutas, Panchikrit Panchamahabhutas, and the Prakriti. So these are made up of matter. And I'm not matter. Matter's inert, I am the living conscious being. I am the Atma, which is Chaitanya Tattvam, which is life itself. I pervade and enliven these 3 anatmas, So I cannot be called inert. I am not anatma. This Sthul Sharira lasts only for one lifetime. Every lifetime we get a new Sthul Sharira. The Sthul Sharira is going to die, and we will have to. But the Sukshma Sharira, which leaves the Sthul Sharira, that does not die when the Sthul Sharira dies. That moves on. It has a forward journey. In fact, the union of Sukshma and Sthul Sharira is called Sanyoga of Sthul, and that is what is birth. Birth is Sanyoga of Sukshma and Sthul Sharira, and death is Viyoga of Sthul and Sukshma Sharira. That is separation of Sthul and Sukshma Sharira is death. So in death, the Sukshma Sharira leaves the Sthul Sharira and it moves on, And then it just keeps on from birth after birth and keeps getting new Sthul Shariras. So the Sukshma Sharira which we have just now is not the Sukshma Sharira of this Jivan. This Sukshma Sharira of ours is what we had for many, many janmas with us, It's just that we have had many Sthul Shariras. We have put on this costume, many costumes we have put on. We don't know what all we have lived in. And this is the Sukshma Sharira which lived in all the Sthul Shariras. That is why at times we bark like dogs and sting like a scorpion, because we've lived in those Sthul Shariras, So the vasanas of the Sthul Sharira is there. Just that every birth, the memory part gets wiped out, And when I take a new janma, that memory is gone. But there are rare instances, when people remember that previous janma of theirs. They will say that, my house was there and this is where I lived. And people, when they go and check, it turns out to be true. So at times, these are rare cases. And also this explains why there are child prodigies, those geniuses, those little geniuses in certain fields, music field, mathematics, and even spirituality. The people, they are little 2-3 years old kids are giving pravachans, with talking big things. Even recently I'm seeing on the internet, there's one kid going viral, his name is Bhagwat, and he talks big things. He's just 3 years old. मनुष्य जीवन मौज मस्ती करने के लिए नहीं है, he is saying, so it's a big thing for a 3-year-old kid to say. He says, hi, hello, choro, Hare Krishna bolo. He's sitting like that and he's talking all this. So how do we explain all this? This is explained only because that Sukshma Sharira is carrying on, When a person has worked very seriously, passionately in his life, but the prarabdha karma of the Sthul Sharira got over and died, God helps that person and He gives that knowledge in the next birth, He starts his life with such a huge advantage. There will be such a lot of accomplishments in his life, because from the 2 years, 3 years old kid is talking like that, So, the Sukshma Sharira dies only when there is this pralayam happens, that is the dissolution of the whole creation takes place. It's called pralayam in the Shastras. This is called one srishti. This will go into pralayam after the srishti gets over. And one srishti, which is called one kalpa, is made up of 4 yugas. Sat Yuga, Traita Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kala Yuga. Presently we are in Kal Yuga, and these 4 yugas together, they are called one Mahayuga. And one Mahayuga has 43 crores 20 lakh years. That is the time of one Mahayuga. And when that time gets over, the whole Srishti will go into Pralayam. And when Pralayam happens, the Sukshma Shariras also get resolved. So this Sukshma Sharira lasts for one creation, one Srishti. But at the time of Pralayam, the Karan Sharira doesn't get resolved. Karan Sharira is very much present in seed forms during Pralayam. It is because of this Karan Sharira, Ishvara creates the new Srishti. Ishvara requires 2 Karanams to create a Srishti. One is called Samanya Karanam, which is the Panch Mahabhutas he requires, and the other is Vishesh Karanam. Vishesh Karanam are the karmas of the jivas which are present in seed form as Karan Sharira and Pralayam stage. So from that he will take and he will create the new Srishti, which will again go through these 4 yugas, This Karan Sharira ends when the person gets enlightened, he gets moksha. That's the time the Karan Sharira will also end. That is the final end, the end. It is known as Parant Kale in the Shastras. Param Ant Kale, that is the final, where you get rid of all these Shariras, and that's the end of the cycle of birth and death. So at that time, there is Jiva Ishvara Aikyam. The Jiva and Ishvara become one. The Jiva merges in with Ishvara. This is not a physical merger. It is the dropping of the notion that we were separate. Jiva and Ishvara Aikya takes place. This is explained by the example in the Shastras that suppose there is a pot and there is space in that pot. It is called Ghata Akasha. The Akash inside the pot is taken as separate space. And the outside space is called Maha Akasha. And when this pot breaks, then the Ghata Akasha merges with Maha Akasha. But actually the Akasha is Akasha, it can never be fragmented, This division is only created by ignorance. Similarly, we people who are actually Atma, we take ourselves as this limited individual because of the identification with these 3 Shariras, By the end of when the Karan Sharira gets resolved by moksha, it's the end, you merge with Ishvara. But when the Karan Sharira ends, like when you get the knowledge, it doesn't mean that then and there you're going to die, because it is the end now, the end. That doesn't happen because the Sthul Sharira has come with some prarabdha karmas here, Because of certain prarabdha karmas, you have got a Sthul Sharira, and that has to be finished, that prarabdha karma, this sthula sharira has to live. It will only finish off when the prarabdha karma gets over. So in this journey of this prarabdha karma, if the person becomes enlightened, that doesn't mean he will die. But this life, from enlightenment to death, is a very blissful life for the person, because he has got disidentified from everything. Everything is being made insignificant. Just like the stars are present in the sky all the time, we see the stars only at night because the sunlight is not there. In the daytime also the stars are there, but we can't see them because the sunlight is so powerful that it has made the presence of stars insignificant. Similarly, the life of a jnani, after he gets the jnana and he realizes, he is the Atma, everything is made insignificant. He takes the problems of the body, mind complex in his stride and all the problems around it. He's not worried about anything. Also, such a jnani is a blessing for this humanity later, because even if he doesn't do anything, just his presence here is radiating peace, to everybody, because he is not worried about getting this, that and troubling people here. Nobody. He lives in his own world, So even by looking at the lifestyle of a jnani, the other people have to realize that how come this person is happy without anything? So this goes to show that happiness is not there in the world. The world doesn't have happiness. Happiness is all within, and the sooner you realize this, the better it is. So a jnani's lifestyle is a role model for humanity, He may do a lot of work after getting jnana, like Adi Shankaracharya ji went round and round this country on his foot, or he may just go and sit in the Himalayas and be by himself. But he's not a burden on this earth anymore. His presence is just a blessing. So that's what happens when the current Sharira ends. So this is we finished the Sharira, the Traya Prakriya like this. Now there were 3 Prakriyas which were spoken about. First was Sharira Traya, then Panchakosha Prakriya, and then Avastha Traya Prakriya. So as per the order, we are supposed to be reading Panchakosha Prakriya, but the Guru happens to start Avastha Traya Prakriya next, because Sharira Traya and Avastha Traya are very closely related. So he takes up Avastha Traya Prakriya, which we will read now. Avastha Trayam Kim Jagrat Swapna Sushupti Avasthaha. We'll also read the next. Jagrat Avastha ka Shrotradi Jnanendriyani Shabdadi Vishayaischa Gyayate Iti Yatsa Jagrat Avastha. स्थूल शरीर अभिमानी आत्मा विश्व इत्युच्यते. आत्मा विश्व ityuchyate. So to the question, avastha trayam kim? Avastha means the state of experience, trayam is 3, kim is what? What are the 3 states of experience is the question of the Shishya. And to this question, the Guru replies, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti Avastha. There are 3 states of experiences, the waking, the dream and the deep sleep state. Deep sleep, in the Shastra, sleep means Supti. It is called Supti. And deep sleep, which is dreamless sleep, is known as Shushupti, So, here when, in the Shastras, they're going to explain everything. We may feel that we know this, but no, there are many things when we read in this, we'll realize that we didn't know it. So, they don't leave any stone unturned. They're going to talk about everything, So, then he says, what is Jagrat Avastha? The Shishya is asking. So, the Guru says, Shrotradi Jnanendriyani, our sense organs, Jnanendriyas, Shrotra Adi. Shrotra is the sense of hearing. Adi means the other four senses. He's put an etc. there. That means the sense of sight, the sense of smell, the sense of taste, and the sense of touch. So all the five Jnanendriyas, Shabdadi Vishayaischa. Vishyas are the objects of the world. We have read this earlier. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are the five objects of the world. All that we see, all that we hear, all that we smell, all that we taste, all that we touch. This is what the world is made up of. There is no sixth object in the world. And these six objects are perceived by our five senses. So the state in which my five senses come to know, Gyayate means get the information of, get the knowledge of, five sense objects of the world, that state of experience is known as Jagrat Avastha, the waking state. Now in the Jagrat Avastha only our senses are functional. Senses backed by the mind which can experience this world are only functional in Jagrat Avastha. In Swapna and Sushupti Avastha, they are not functional, because we are not experiencing the external world. The Indriyam, the Golakams are very much present, but the Indriyam gets resolved because the Sukshma Sharira is resolved, So when we are sleeping, our ears are open, our nose is open, our skin is open to touch, but I don't feel anything. Everything has got shut off, this world has got cut off from me, Why? Because in the Golakams, the Indriyams have resolved, Even if we take 2 minutes, 2 seconds doze in the daytime, even in the class, if a person just dozes off for 2 seconds, the world is cut off. You don't know what happened. So what has happened? The Sukshma Sharira got withdrawn. The moment we go to sleep, Sukshma Sharira gets resolved, So for us to experience this world, we need both the Golakam as well as the Indriyam. We need both the Sthul Sharira as well as the Sukshma Sharira. In death, the Sukshma Sharira dies, but the Sthul Sharira dies, but the Sukshma Sharira has moved on, It goes forward for its onward journey. But that Jiva, the soul, the reflected consciousness present in the Sukshma Sharira cannot experience this world, because there is no Sthul Sharira. A Jiva without Sthul Sharira is known as Preta. You've heard of Bhoot Pretas, So if there is no Sthul Sharira, that's a Preta, and he can't experience the external world. And Bhoot is that which lives in Bhutkal. His mind is in Bhutkal. There's something which is holding on here in this world, some unfinished agenda here that the onward journey is not taking place. That's why it's called Bhoot. And his legs are, the feet are turned backwards for a Bhoot. We say, no, uske pair, you must see, if you see the feet, they're turned backwards, that's the Bhoot, So that is why he lives in Bhutkal. But these Bhuta Pishach and all that, they can't even come where God's name is even being taken. The moment God's name is there, they'll run away, That is why Hanuman Chalisa says, Bhuta Pishach nikat nahi aave, Mahavir jab naam sunave. You take Bhagwan Hanumanji's name and they'll run away, Hanumanji is an avatar of Lord Shiva. He's Shankar Bhagwan's avatara, and he's supposed to be Chiranjeevi. Chiranjeevi is the one who never dies. He's always present. So he's around. Hanumanji is always around. He's present in all the 4 yugas, and he is there to protect, especially his bhaktas. His bhaktas have to just take his name and he's going to be there, That is why we say that, whenever anybody is scared, do Hanuman Chalisa jap, If you wake up with a bad dream, chant Hanuman Chalisa. It has to be seen to be believed. The miraculous powers of Hanuman Chalisa, the strength and courage which Bhagwan's bhakti gives, The person can then face this life with courage and strength, and also Hanumanji's bhakti brings spiritual upliftment, Just like he sees Bhagwan Ram in everything, then his bhakta also starts seeing Bhagwan Ram in everything. There's a beautiful bhajan which says, Guru Kripa Anjana Payo Mere Bhai, Ram Bina Kuch Dekhat Nahi, So because of his Guru Kripa is very important, So Bhagwan Hanuman started seeing Bhagwan Ram in Kana, everything he sees only Bhagwan Ram. And when you pray to Hanumanji, the person also, there is a huge spiritual, transformation in a person just by praying to Hanumanji. So one must chant Hanuman Chalisa at least on Tuesdays and Saturdays. It's very good, So here it is said that when we identify with the Sthul Sharira, we experience this waking world. And then it is said that Sthula Sharira Abhimani Atma Vishwa Ityuchyate. Ityuchyate means Iti Uchyate. It is said that when this Atma is identified with the Sthul Sharira, this individual, because of the identification, is given a name. He is known as Vishwa. So presently all of us, as per the Shastras, we are in the waking state, identified with the Sthula Sharira. So our name is Vishwa as per this state of experience, So we have to, so this Vishwa, so this Vishwa is the person who is awake, he is identified with the Sthula Sharira and he is experiencing the waking world. By his 5 senses, he is getting to know all about the 5 objects. So this is the first state of experience known as Jagrat Avastha. Then we will read the next. Swapna Avastha Ka Iti Chet. Ka Iti Chet. Jagrat Avasthayam. Yad Drishtam. Yat Shrutam. Tad Janita. Vasanaya Nidra Samaye Yah Prapanchah Pratiyate Sa Swapna Avastha. Sukshma Sharira Abhimani Atma Taijasa Iti Uchyate. So now this question, Swapna Avastha Ka Iti Chet. This Guru himself is putting up the question. If you ask me what is Swapna Avastha, then he says Swapna Avastha is that in which Jagrat Avasthayam Yad Drishtam. In the Jagrat Avastha, all that we saw, Yat Shrutam, all that we heard. So he's talking about these 2 sense perceptions because these are very powerful. They have an impact on us, But this definitely includes what we smell, what we eat, what we touch, So all the 5 senses, Tad Janita Vasanaya, when we experience this world with our 5 senses, these sense experiences leave some impressions in our mind which are known as vasanas. So the mind is serving so many purposes here. It's an amazing instrument, One is that with the mind, I see this world along with the senses, of course, the senses backed with the mind. Then only if the mind is not there, we can't perceive the world, And then, because these vasanas, then the next job of the mind is that is going on recording what we are seeing. It plays the job of a recorder also. It is going to keep on recording what we are experiencing here in life. And all these recorders here, the man-made recorders, they have a certain limited capacity. It may be today that kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte or whatever bytes, but there is a limit. It is this much is the capacity. But mind is such an instrument which has an endless capacity of recording. It just goes on and on recording. There are vasanas present in our mind from Purva Janmas, That is why you see there are two children in the house, they are given the same environment, same upbringing. One child behaves in a different way, the other child is behaving in a different way, only because the vasanas present from the Pura Janmas are different in them, you know. So we come with those vasanas, it's just that the memory is wiped out, you know, but the vasanas are definitely present. That is why suddenly at some age, some kid is chasing something, you yourself are surprised as to why this kid is behaving after all this upbringing. This is the vasanas inside which are driving him, you know. So the experience which we are having is known as anubhava, and the impression which gets left behind is known as vasana. It is also known as samskara in some of the texts, you know. But samskaras are generally cultural conditionings of the mind, you know. They are also a kind of vasanas only. So in the waking state, our mind is just going on recording. It is just collecting these vasanas, is gathering these vasanas, you know. And these vasanas, they get stored as memory in our subconscious mind, you know. They are not present in our conscious mind. The conscious mind must remain empty for us to use it for living, you know. If the conscious mind gets cluttered with these vasanas, then we can't function here, you know. But at different times, from these memories, you know, these impressions called vasanas, these memories keep popping up in our conscious mind. And also we can even withdraw them at will. Like if I think of my childhood, then the memory all comes up. The whole scene is there in front, you know, that it has come up. So these are the vasanas, and it all depends on the experience also. If there is a strong experience which we had, it will have a vasana with a strong impact. We will not be able to forget it easily. The experience can be good or it can be bad. Both will get registered in the mind, you know. It's an amazing instrument, our mind. Then from these vasanas, nidra samaye yah prapanch pratiyate sa swapna avastha. Then at the time of sleep, when I have disidentified from the sthul sharira, then from these vasanas, the mind projects a world which is prapanch, means made up of 5 objects. This external world is made up of 5 objects, and because the vasanas are of the external world, the internal dream world is also a prapancha, you know, it is made up of 5 objects. And pratiyate means I experience. I am experiencing a dream world which is a prapancha coming from my vasanas when I have disidentified from the sthul sharira. This state of experience is known as swapna avastha. So in the Jagrat Avastha, we all commonly are, you know, experiencing this objective world. This is common to all of us. But the moment I disidentify from the Sthul Sharira and go into Swapna Avastha, then I enter into my subjective, private world, you know, which is the projection of my vasanas, you know. This world, even if I want to share with the near and dear ones, I cannot. I can maximum talk about it that I got such a dream, but while dreaming I can't share this experience with my close people, you know, because this is my world. This is a very subjective world. It depends on the kind of vasanas I have. If my vasanas are bad vasanas, the dream world is going to be a nightmare, it's going to be a bad dream. If my vasanas are good vasanas, then I will experience a good dream, you know. And these vasanas which I have, they depend upon my karmas, you know. Because the kind of karma I'll do, that's the kind of experience I'll get, and that's the kind of impression which will get stored inside as vasana, you know. That is why it is said, don't watch rubbish, don't talk rubbish, you know, like na bura bolo, na bura dekho, na bura suno. Don't do that, because what you're going to do, it's all going to get registered in the mind as vasanas, and then you only have to face the music. Second person will not face it, not just as bad dreams, but even as karma phalas in front of us, you know. And not only what we experience generate vasanas, but also the imagination. If we are thinking, if we are worrying about something constantly, our mind is somewhere, that also gets registered as vasanas, you know. So then we will be dreaming about that. So, you know, while we are dreaming, in the waking state, sometimes, you know, we have got angry with somebody or got irritated with somebody, but because of certain constraint, we couldn't release that anger. then in the dream I will sort out that person, even give him 2 slaps there in the dream, because the pressure which was built up in the mind because of that interaction gets released in the dream. We will see that dream if that impact is so much, if the pressure has built up. It's like a pressure cooker release, It's a God-made method of releasing the mental pressures inside us by seeing a dream, and you sort out whatever was troubling you in there. This dream world which we see, while dreaming, we don't know that it's a dream. It's very real to us. So for a dreamer, the dream world is not a dream. It's as real as Jagrat Avastha. In the dream world, there is a dream body, this dream person who's experiencing so very real. Only when we wake up, we say, that was a dream, There are so many people who wake up, they're so scared when they wake up because it was so realistic, that dream, And sometimes the mind, it mixes up these vasanas, and we'll get a weird dream, like an elephant body with a human head wearing some fancy clothes, some weird dream we will see. It's because of the vasanas have got jumbled up in our mind, because it's an instrument. It can happen, it happens really, but it can happen, So then he says that Sukshma Sharira Abhimani Atma Taijas iti uchyate. So the Atma, when it's identified with Sukshma Sharira, the individual at that time is known as Taijasa. Taijas means the effulgent one, the brightly lit one, Taijasa. See how bright our dream is, It's unbelievable when we see it so brightly lit up, and there is a person in the dream, I there in the dream. That person is called Taijasa because he's identified with the Sukshma Sharira. We have disidentified from the Sthula Sharira in the dream, and I'm identified as Taijasa here, So this state of experience in which Taijasa experiences a dream world, a prapancha, which is projected by the mind from the vasanas, which one has gathered from the waking state. So the mind is functioning as a perceiver, it perceives this world, then a recorder, and then a player. It plays all this. It's also a projector because it's projecting. Look at the capacities of the mind, it's an amazing mind. So this is our second avastha. Then we will also read the third avastha. अतः सुषुप्त्यावस्था का अहम किमपि न जानामि सुखेन मया निद्रा अनुभूयत इति सुषुप्त्यावस्था कारण शरीर अभिमानी आत्मा प्राज्ञ इत्युच्यते. So to the question, what is Sushupti Avastha? The answer is, it is that state of experience where aham kimapi na janami. I didn't know anything. There was no external world, the world which is called Bhautik Prapancha in the Shastras, And there was no internal world also, which is called Manas Prapancha, the world projected by the mind. That is also not there. Deep sleep, everything is vanished, So I didn't know anything. This outer world was not there. The inner world was not there. I have experienced real relaxation and rest in deep sleep, So the main expression of everybody, I slept like a log of wood, Log of wood doesn't have Sukshma Sharira, no? So there's no experience. That's why we say we slept like a log of wood, So then it says that Sukhena Maya Nidra Anubhuyata. Sukhena means happily, Anubhuyata means experience, Nidra is the sleep. So I happily experienced deep sleep, So in deep sleep, because there's no external world and there's no internal world, so there's no duality, The subject-object duality is resolved in deep sleep. Because we have got disidentified from the Sthula Sharira, and I'm also identified from the Sukshma Sharira. The moment I disidentify from Sukshma Sharira, the mind has got resolved. When the mind resolves, the individual has got resolved. when the individual has resolved, all the problems of the individual have got resolved. There are no emotions, there's no thinking, there's no decision making, there's no family problem, there's no professional problem. I don't know anything. Aham kimapi na janami. Aham sukhena maya nidra anubhuyat. Happily I'm experiencing, So there are two very major experiences in deep sleep. One is of ignorance. I don't know anything. Not only do I not know anything about the world, I don't know anything about my own self also. Because all my role playing has got resolved. There's no doctor, engineer, mother, father, sister, brother in deep sleep state. Nothing. We are all the same in deep sleep state, And there is an experience of ananda. There's experience of happiness in deep sleep. Nobody ever complains of deep sleep. We complain about the waking world all the time. We can even complain about the dream. Yeah, I had a bad dream. But deep sleep state is universally loved by everyone. In fact, people crave to go to deep sleep, When we wake up, if we have woken up directly from deep sleep, we don't want to get up from the bed. 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. You know what? We are enjoying that deep sleep. If we wake up from a dream, then the mind is not so relaxed there because all that thing is there in the mind. But deep sleep, the mind has got resolved, So we love to go to deep sleep. So in deep sleep, I am an embodiment of ignorance and happiness. This happiness which I am experiencing in deep sleep is not just a negative happiness of absence of these two worlds, But here, when everything is resolved, I am with my own nature, I am with Atma. It is a positive happiness of my own nature. That's how I come to know that my nature is Ananda. Because I am experiencing that ananda in deep sleep state, While sleeping, we don't know that. While sleeping, we don't know anything. Just like in dream, we don't know anything. We only come to know that, it was a dream when we wake up. While dreaming, it's all very real. And in deep sleep, we don't know what we are experiencing. But when we wake up, we say two things here. I slept well and I didn't know anything. This is what is generally said by everyone. I slept well, I had a happy experience. There is an experience of the absence of everything. There is an experience of blankness, and that is remembered by that person when he wakes up. And remembrance means memory, and the memory presupposes an experience. Though the mind has got resolved in deep sleep, there is no mind, and experience needs the mind, because without thoughts I can't experience anything. Thoughts is what is required for any experience in life, But in deep sleep, the mind is resolved, yet when I wake up I say that, I slept well, So that there is an experience which has happened, and I remember that experience when I wake up. So the Shastra explains that in deep sleep, the Karan Sharira, there are some Ati Sukshma Vrittis of Karan Sharira present. Ati Sukshma is extremely subtle Vrittis, just like the ocean, at the bottom there are waves, but they're very, it's called calm. The ocean is calm at the bottom, So in the deep sleep state, the Ati Sukshma Vrittis of Karan Sharira register this experience of blankness, this happiness, and this we remember as, this gets registered as memory, and then when we wake up we remember, I slept very well, I would love to go back there. Why am I saying I want to go back there? Because I have experienced that bliss, So then he says that Karan Sharira Abhimani Jiva Pragya iti uchyate. So when this Atma is identified with the Karan Sharira, which is, the causal body, the name is given to this individual, he is called Pragya. Agya means ignorant. In the waking state, we are ignorant about many things here. But in the deep sleep state, we are totally ignorant. We are ignorant about both the worlds, and I am ignorant about my own self. So Pragya means Prakarshena Agya, totally ignorant. So Shushupti Avastha is that state in which Pragya, he is totally ignorant about everything, total ignorance is there. He also experiences happiness. So this is what Sushupti Avastha is. Now we'll see that there are three names which are being taken here. The individual is named as per the state. For a reason it's named, So in waking state, the waker is called Vishwa. He's experiencing the Vishwa. In dream state, he's called Taijasa. In Sushupti Avastha, he's called Pragya. So waker, the Vishwa is when I am identified with the waking state. Taijasa is when I am identified with the Sukshma Sharira. And Pragya is when the Pragya is identified with the Sukshma Karan Sharira, So all these three Shariras, they are known as Upadhis in the Shastras. Upadhi is a limiting adjunct which limits the limitless Atma as only this much. I take myself as this much because of my identification with these three shariras, which are called upadhis. Like, there is a crystal glass which is colorless and transparent. If you put a colored object near a crystal glass, the crystal starts looking the same color because that color gets reflected in the crystal. Now suppose we put orange cloth in front of the crystal, then the crystal will appear orange in color. So that orange cloth is called the upadhi. Upadhi means upadhi. Upa is close by. Dhi is, it is doing adhyasa of its attributes on something else. This is called anyon adhyasa in the Shastras, where two things which are very close to each other, they superimpose their attributes on one another. Now we have, so here the orange cloth is the upadhi. The crystal never loses its purity, it always remains there. Just temporarily it is appearing orange in color because of the presence of something which is very close by, So similarly, the Atma, we have studied that the Atma and Anatma are mixed together. They cannot be physically separated. We've studied that, The whole thing is a cognitive understanding about who is Atma and what is Anatma and what is Atma. And if I don't figure this out, that my reality is Atma and Anatma is not my real self, then my life is going to be miserable. We are not studying this for some theory's sake, This is going to transform my life, so I need to know this. In me, what is my reality and what is not my reality. So when I say that I am Vishwa, I am belongs to the Atma, and Vishwa is because of the identification with the Sthul Sharira, which is an Upadhi. When I say I am Taijasa, I am belongs to the Atma. Taijas is because of identification with Sukshma Sharira. When I say I am Pragya, I am as the Atma. Pragya is because of the identification with Karan Sharira, So this has to be deciphered, this distinction must be known that I am not these three shariras. I am the conscious being which is the Atma, which is pervading these three shariras. And also there is a fact that these three individuals, that Vishwa, Taijas and Pragya don't meet each other. They have no encounter with each other. Only when Vishwa resolves, when the Sthul Sharira goes to sleep, then Taijas comes up, in the dream. And when Taijas gets resolved, then Pragya is present there as the Karan Sharira. So these three do not know anything about each other. They do not meet each other. But there is something in us which knows all the three states. I know my waking state, I know my dream state, I know my deep sleep state. I am not vanishing. These three avasthas are coming and going, but there's something which is changeless present all the time in us. That is the Atma. That is my real self, which never, it is immortal, it is changeless. And this distinction is what these avasthas are they are trying to tell us for us to understand, The word which is used in the Shastra for Atma is called Turiya. It's not mentioned here, but these three, Vishwa, Taijas and Pragya, are pervaded by Atma. It's all encompassing the Atma, They are coming and going. Actually, these three states are the three states of the mind. When the mind is fully awake, it is identified with Sthul Sharira. When the mind is partially awake, it is the dream state, And the mind totally resolves, it's the deep sleep state. So this is just continuously coming and going, but there's something which knows all the three Shariras within us. that is my reality and that is the Atma. It is called Sakshi Chaitanya. I am a witness of these three avasthas. I am not these three avasthas, but I am the witness of these three avasthas. So this is the second prakriya, which is trying to help us understand that I am not the anatma, but I am the atma. See, without this knowledge, if I sit down in meditation, what am I going to meditate upon? How do I figure it out that I am the atma? This knowledge is required, which Vedanta only gives. What others are doing here, they are just, I don't know what, you concentrate on the chakras and there is a blue light coming in the mind, like this, you can never, they can sit there and get some temporary peace and feel very happy, but they can never ever come to know their reality as Atma. This is what is required. So by this avastha, this is the second avastha which we finished, this is how we figure out my reality is the Atma. Then we will continue in the next class. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.